A Karen comes into my dad's yacht that I manage and demands a free ride for her and her friends. She claims that she's my dad's old friend, which I knew was a total lie. So I decided to play along and later expose her in front of her friends, where she freaks out, causes some damages, and gets arrested. Here's what happened. So, I'm a 19-year-old male, and my father owns a pretty fancy yacht in Miami. He lets me use it whenever I want. I usually just take it out for a spin with my buddies or use it to impress some chicks. But primarily, the yacht is used as a rental for people looking to experience the luxury of sailing on a high-end vessel, and I take care of it. I'm a pretty chill dude, and I don't usually let much get to me, but this past weekend, I had the misfortune of running into a Karen. You know the type. Entitled, demanding, and thinking the world owes them something. They're usually middle-aged women with too much time on their hands and an exaggerated sense of self-importance. Well, this particular Karen and her group of friends showed up at the marina, demanding a ride on the yacht. I work on the yacht, so I was hanging out on the deck, soaking up the sun and enjoying the view as the sun was setting. When I heard this loud voice calling out to me, here comes the Karen. Hey, you! She was stomping over with her friends in tow and said, I know the owner of this boat. I'm friends with him. I'm sure he wouldn't mind giving us the ride. I glanced over at her and her friends, trying to keep my cool. Karen was a middle-aged woman with a black ponytail and a too-tight sundress that showed off her orange tan lines. Her friends were all decked out in designer clothes and sunglasses, trying their best to look cool, but they just looked like they were trying too hard. Sorry, I said, doing my best to keep a straight face. But my dad's the owner of this yacht, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't know you. What do you mean he doesn't know me? She huffed, crossing her arms over her chest. I've known him for years. I used to be a secretary. Did he not tell you about me? I've been on this boat before. I'm sure he wouldn't mind giving us a ride. I couldn't believe this woman's audacity. I knew for a fact that my dad had no idea who she was, but I figured, why not play along? Her friends were pretty hot, and I like women, so I figured I could use the opportunity to show off a little bit. So I decided to go along with Karen's charade and agree to give them a tour. Sure thing, I said, flashing her a fake smile. Why don't you and your friends come aboard and I'll show you around? Karen and her friends beamed, clearly excited at the prospect of getting a free ride on a luxury yacht. They followed me aboard, chattering excitedly and taking pictures with their phones as I showed them around. Karen acted like she owned the place, bossing me and my crew around and acting like a total diva. Her friends were just kind of standing there, looking awkward and uncomfortable. I could tell they had no idea what was really going on, and that Karen was just full of shit. Finally, I decided I had enough. The aura of entitlement was too much for me. I decided to expose that woman in front of her friends and let them know that she didn't actually know my dad at all. I pulled out my phone and FaceTimed my dad, asking if he knew Karen. Hey, Dad, I said, holding up my phone so Karen and her friends could see. Do you know this woman? My dad's face appeared on the screen and he looked confused. Who's that, son? He asked. This is Karen. Apparently she was your secretary, I said. She says she's friends with you and that you wouldn't mind giving her and her friends a ride on the yacht. My dad was confused. Who the fuck is this lady? I've never seen this woman before in my life. And I certainly wouldn't be giving her a ride on my yacht. Karen's face turned bright red, and she started sputtering and stuttering, clearly flustered that her lie had been exposed. Her friends looked shocked and embarrassed, and I could see the realization dawning on their faces that Karen had been lying to them all along. She had been trying to impress them with a fake connection to a wealthy yacht owner, and now it was all coming crashing down. You little shit, Karen spat out, lunging at me. I can't believe you would do this to me. I quickly stepped out of the way, and Karen stumbled and fell to the ground. She let out a string of expletives and started throwing a fit, tossing champagne glasses and a few bottles of very expensive wine, including a bottle of Dom Perignon at $200 and a bottle of Chateau Mouton Rothschild at $300 all over the place. The wine was some of the most expensive we had on board, and it was a real shame to see it go to waste like this. I immediately called security, and Karen was arrested for vandalism and property damage. The whole situation was a mess, and I knew my dad wasn't going to be happy about it. Sure enough, when I called him to explain what had happened, he was livid. He told me to file a civil lawsuit against Karen to seek compensation for the damages and emotional distress caused by her actions. I also filed a police report and pressed charges against Karen for vandalism. In order to seek compensation, I knew I would have to present evidence of the damages for any lost income or loss of use of the yacht due to the damages. It was a lot of work, but it wasn't all that bad, as in the end, I did get the number of one of her hot friends, or shall we say, ex-friend. Wow, this story is kind of satisfying. OP, way to go on handling that situation like a pro. That Karen deserves to get played like this, in front of her friends. Plus, getting one of Karen's friends' numbers in the end was just the cherry on top. It's always satisfying to see entitled people get called out on their BS. Just brilliant. I hope you have a smooth sailing from here on out. Next time, you should chuck me an invite. A Karen and her entitled child entered an aquarium store, demanding I sell them a fish for a fraction of its cost. But when I refused, her kid pulled a crab and started eating it. Yeah, the story is kind of wild. Here's what happened. I know this seems super unbelievable, but when you've been working in the pet trade as a sales associate for long enough in weird areas, you start to see a fair share of entitled kids and shit-stained parents. My first of many stories, so don't be too harsh. For context, I work at a mom-and-pop pet store in the eastern U.S., and while my expertise is in aquatics, I try to be a jack of all trades. The day that this happened was rather uneventful until this point, all up until Lil Shit, an entitled mom, entered the store. My store is pretty modest, so it was fairly easy to see customers come in and out, especially in the fish department. So I got first look at these magnificent creatures. A 40-something-year-old woman talking on her cell, her hair obviously dyed blonde, an outfit practically screaming midlife crisis, while her child was in tow. The kid must have been 7 or 8. The kid playing on his Switch, his shirt covered in what looked like a mixture of pizza sauce, soda, and plenty of mystery stains. At first, things were pretty normal. The kid originally not caring about anything in the store, while the mom was getting enraged at him for not paying attention, though that changed rather fast. The mom and Lil Shit were near the ferrets when the mom took Lil Shit's Switch, immediately causing a reaction of screaming and pouting before being distracted by some of the fish over in my department. Alright, a bit of unnecessary information, but the way my store's fish department is set up is that 2/5 of it is freshwater, 2/5 is equipment, and the rest is saltwater. Given we weren't really known for saltwater, we only kept pretty generic yet sought-after fish, like hippo tangs, various clownfish, 6-line wrasses, etc. The thing about the first two is because of Finding Nemo, kids are always drawn to the Dories or Nemos. Alright, that all in mind, the first thing Lil Shit did was head over to the small assortment of hippo tangs we had, practically pressing his shit-covered face against the glass as he yelled out, "Dory!" as loud as he could. The mom hailed me down from algae scrubbing, and this started the encounter. I like to act casual around the workplace as I find it lowers any sort of anxiety a customer has, and makes me way more approachable. First thing out of my mouth was, "Hey there, how's your night going? Need help with something?" The mom started out our encounter with a roll of the eyes before pouting to the tang and demanding a price with a simple but rude, "How much for this thing?" After shifting gears from a casual standing to a more professional one, I simply told her that the tang was $160. He was a good-sized tang. Of course, she scoffed, but what came next was a bit more worrying. The mom pulled out $30 from her purse and placed it on the desk we used to bag fish, saying in an aggravated tone, "That's all you're getting. Bag him." Things start to go poorly from here. It's worth noting that it was 9:15 at this point, the store having closed 15 minutes ago. Though we make it a policy not to ask customers to leave until 9:30, it was just my manager and myself at this point. My manager in the office closing down registers. So essentially, it was like I was the only employee in the store. Seeing the mom placing the $30 on the table, I raised an eyebrow before leaning against the wall, simply asking her, "Do you have a saltwater tank?" She didn't take this well. She screamed without a second passing, "None of your flippin' business, now bag my fish, you cocky little shit." I simply refused, and slid her $30 back towards her before she slid it back, now more pissed off. "I'm gonna get your ass fired if you don't bag my fish right now." At this, LS was getting pissed at the interaction, screaming like a banshee about how he wanted the tang, still referring to it as Dory and beginning to stomp his feet in a tantrum. Soon enough, I was asking them to leave. So this is where I fucked up. I should have called the cops at this point, knowing that she wasn't going to leave without a fight. LS was on the floor at this point, pounding his fist to the floor as snot dripped down his face as the mom tried to guilt me. "Sorry, sweetie. This guy doesn't want you to have the fish. He's perfectly fine with you having no fish friend to make you happy." At this point, she turned back up to me. "Do you see what you did, you stupid fuck? You're breaking my angel's heart because you're being too much of a Jew to sell me the fish." Internally, I was laughing. This kind of situation happened now and again, but the anti-Semitism was a new one. I had figured everything was starting to resolve at this point, though I was mistaken. Lil Shit flipped shit. You know how some opera singers can break glass with their voice? This kid would have a knack for something like that. Lil Shit was screaming as loud as humanly possible at this point as he managed to reach into the tank. At last, my manager had made his way out of the office, and watching what was going on, Lil Shit grabbed a piece of live rock, accidentally grabbing a long spine urchin. Angry screaming turned right to wails of pain as he pulled a rock out of the tank, a poor little pom-pom crab in tow. At this point, I was less focused on the kid, but more focused on making sure my manager was calling 911, which he did. When I turned around, I saw something that still gives me nightmares to this day. The kid had been clutching his hand while his mother tried to help him. Something hanging out of his mouth. The poor little pom-pom crab had been crushed by the kid. Little shit having shoved it into his mouth and chomping down on it, leaving a little claw hanging out of his mouth. The next 2 minutes was a strange combination of astonishment and panic. Myself telling the kid not to move his hands since he would break the spines of the urchin, while the mom began hitting me with her crappy purse, screaming that I hurt her kid. I was like, your kid shoved his hand into a tank, one with toxic animals nonetheless, and did this to himself. Calm the frick down and leave me alone so when the paramedics get here they can get the spines out. How dare you? You expect me to let my angel suffer? If you just sold me the stupid fish, this would have never happened. Your kid reached into the tank and ate a crab. What the fuck did you teach this kid? Don't you ever tell me how to raise my angel. He had the right to eat that crab. You took something from him, and he took something from you. By the end of this interaction, the paramedics had arrived, restraining the kid and taking him into an ambulance as the police tried to sort things out. Unsurprisingly, the mom tried to pin everything on me, saying I threw an urchin at him. WTF. And he ate the crab in a panic. Equally unsurprisingly, we had the entire thing on CCTV, including the mom hitting me with her purse. Long story short, the mom was arrested for aggravated assault as apparently she had stuffed the rock into her bag to give it the extra punch. Didn't notice until after the paramedics saw me that I was bleeding on my leg from the jagged live rock. After getting a statement, the cops left, mom and little shit going off to wherever the hell the cops took them, and I got out of everything with 8 stitches and a $300 bonus for my boss for handling the situation without anyone getting seriously injured. From what I ended up hearing, the kid had actually got stung by the fox-faced dorsal spines, and that sent him into a blind rage. The mom got a plea deal, and she ended up with a huge fine, some jail time, and some other shit. In summary, I didn't sell the mom a fish. Kid flipped shit, grabbed an urchin, and ate a crab. Entitled mom got arrested for assault. This was by far the worst situation I have ever had in the store, and I still can't believe the outcome of this till this day. This was 3 years ago now. I was in work the other day when I saw a pouting kid over a mom not let him get a hippo tank, and this has been brought to the front of my mind ever since. What the hell? This story is wild. My only question is, did he eat it with the shell? I love how she claimed the kid ate it in a panic attack, like, oh no, someone's throwing a fish at me. What do I do? What do I do? Oh, idea. Let's eat the crab. That'll help. I don't know, but that's just funny to me. But you know what's not funny? The video on the left, where a Karen wishes her own son to lose to cancer so she can get rich. Yeah, that just makes me mad.